So 4.2. So it looks on like how effectively the KMT dealt with the communists between 1927 and 1936. During this period, there was an intense conflict between the KMT and the CCP, including civil war, purges, and attempts at unification. At the same time, Japan's growing aggression also affected China's politics. So the Shanghai Massacre extermination campaigns. In 1927, the alliance between the KMT and the CCP broke down because the Shanghai Tech saw the communists as a threat. In April 1927, communist-led worker uprising happened in Shanghai Tech without KMT approval. Chiang responded with the purification movement to remove communists from the KMT. On April 11, the KMT and the Green Gang carried out a violent purge in Shanghai, known as the Shanghai Massacre, killing many communists. This violence spread to other cities and led to thousands of deaths. The CCP tried to resist but was largely defeated in cities, though it survived in rural areas. And in Mao Zedong, by 1928, Chiang became the main leader of China, but the CCP continued to exist despite heavy loss. So the Long March, 1934 through 35. After the purges, Chiang launched a repeated extermination campaigns against the CCP between 1930 and 1934. These attacks seriously weakened communist forces and killed many Red Army soldiers. In 1934, the CCP began the Long March to escape destruction. Around 90,000 communists retreated across thousands of kilometers over more than a year, facing extreme hardships, enemy attacks, and harsh terrain. Only about 10,000 to 20,000 survived and reached Yan. Despite the losses, the Long March helped the CCP survive and strengthen Mao Zedong's leadership. Mao Zedong's role. Mao Zedong became an important CCP leader during this period. He believed revolution and violence were necessary for China's future. Although he faced opposition within the Communist Party at times, his strategies eventually proved successful during the Long March, which strengthened his position as a leader. The Sheng Incident, 1936. Japan's invasion of Manchuria in 1931 increased pressure on China, but Chiang Kai-shek's focused mainly on destroying the communists instead of resisting Japan. Many KMT leaders disagreed and wanted a united front against Japan. In December 1936, Chiang kidnapped in the Sheng Incident. Chiang was kidnapped in the Sheng Incident by Zhang Zuolin and Yang Chongheng, and agreed to form the Second United Front with the communists. This temporarily stopped the civil war and allowed both sides to focus on Japan, although tensions remained. Attempts at modernization and the KMT rule. By 1928, Chiang had largely unified China and set up a nationalist government in Nanjing. Sun Yat-sen's plan for revolution included military unification, a temporary authentic phase, and then democracy. Chiang claimed to be this traditional stage while introducing reforms in government, economy, and society. The Nanjing Decade is often described as a period of progress by the KMT. There were improvements in industry, infrastructure, education, and public health. New road, railways, and communication systems were built, and reforms were introduced in law, agriculture, and women's rights. However, the impact was limited. Much of China was controlled by warlords, and the government focused heavily on military. The external pressures from Japan and economic problems like the Great Depression also weakened progress. Limits of KMT success. Despite reforms, the KMT faced many problems. Large areas were not fully under government control, and wars against the CCP drained resources. Corruption, weak authority in rural areas, and resistance from traditional groups also limited reforms. Most government spending went to the military instead of education or welfare. As a result, by 1936, China remained divided. The CCP survived, and full nation unity had not been achieved. Overall, the KMT had some successes in weakening the communists and temporarily unifying parts of China. But it never... look, he's bothering me. It never fully destroyed the CCP. The Long March ensured communist survival. Shan Incident forced cooperation against Japan. By 1936, China was still divided and unstable, showing that the KMT's control was limited and incomplete.